One of the best people in the world at turning warm, fuzzy feelings into cold, hard cash is coming up next. Hey friends, CEO and co-founder of FlowChat, Chris here, and today we are talking to more real entrepreneurs that are getting real results. We're talking very real results, not just for a year or 5 years, but for a decade plus. This fellow FlowChat member has been getting massive results, not only for himself, but for all of his clients. And today he's going to take us behind the scenes. Please welcome Seth. Seth, how's it going today?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I'm super excited.
We're going to get into some of the personal stuff later on. Anyone watching this knows we like to jump right into the real stuff, real results. Seth's superpower is referrals and building affiliate networks and armies. Seth, how did you get into building this super skill?
So I had the good fortune to beg my wife for 30 days to let me borrow the money that was more than the mortgage on our house to go work with legendary marketing guru Dan Kennedy. And one of the books Dan Kennedy gave me to read as a homework assignment was Chet Holmes' The Ultimate Sales Machine, where he laid out his best buyer Dream 100 type of strategy, which now Russell Brunson and some other folks have made more popular and more prevalent. About 10 years ago, we brought the Dream 100 strategy into the 21st century. So even if you think you know what it is and you've tried it before, we've created a way to make it work way better than anything that anyone else has done, as far as I know.
There you go. And so you're learning some of these sales skills, communication from very credible names and sources. Hopefully everyone here has heard of Dan Kennedy. If not, immediately go check that out, and certainly Chet Holmes. But where did that start pivoting strategically into referrals? So obviously Dream 100, for everyone that doesn't know that, that's finding your top influencers, which is kind of that affiliate stuff, army area. Like the first client or the first use case, being a little more granular.
Sure. So it started out as me in the Dream 100 strategy. The way Chet did it was he was going after his Dream 100 clients. We added the influencer level to get 50, in our case, over a year referral sources or affiliates promoting your agency, your business, or your brand. So I was the first use case. I had interviewed 10 Madison Avenue advertising executives. So these were like the people who were the ad agency rep for the NFL or AT&T. And the only way I could get in the door was to interview them. I happened to interview them for a book that I was writing. And the book launch went really well 10 years ago. And I said, I was listening to podcasts back then, and every show I loved was an interview show. And I said, I just interviewed these 10 guys. I'm going to throw it up on iTunes as a podcast and just see what happens. Don't do that. Don't do what I did. We had no production value. Like 10 years ago, there was no Zoom, right? We didn't even use GoToWeb. Like literally it was free conference call. Like you could hear the phone ring. The secretary would answer. Is Mr. Jones there? Who is this? Why are you calling? Like, it was awful. But the content was really good. And literally our first reviews on that show all say the production quality is awful. If you can get past that, there's some really good content here. So it started, I said, maybe we're onto something. We should do this as a real show and get real people to produce it. And then I said, now that we're getting some traction on the show, I said, I bet I could apply this to Chet Holmes' strategy. And what if I thought one level up? What if I just didn't interview my ideal client? What if I interviewed my ideal affiliate, my ideal center of influence, my ideal referral source? And then we added everything I learned from Dan Kennedy about direct mail to combine online to offline, use the podcast as the best networking strategy ever as a way to get in the door that isn't perceived as salesy. And then if I add all of the Dan Kennedy direct mail stuff on the back end to increase the relationship, I can take that person from a podcast guest to a affiliate evangelist raving fan who is doing a webinar swap with me and emailing their list of 100,000 people on my behalf, in less than 60 days.
Interesting. Specifically on the offline direct mail stuff, I'm going to ask kind of a silly question, but yeah, it's going to tee you up. Does direct mail still work?
It works better than ever because less people are doing it, right? Social media, which was supposed to kill direct mail, none of us need that anymore with email and Messenger. actually made it work better because fewer people are doing it. So when you do it right, you stand out way more. Because if you think about it, there's less clutter in your snail mailbox than there used to be because people have dropped off and stopped doing as much direct mail, which means you have more of a vacuum to stand out in. And if you do it right, it will work way better than ever before.
What's a fun use case? And you don't have to give like a client name, but like, you know what I mean? Like, what's industry are they in and what was their sales cycle?
So I'll give you the first use case after me. I said, we need to test this on someone who's not in marketing, a regular person, a regular business owner. So one of the members of my mastermind group is a golf coach, literally like get $75 an hour to work with you on your golf game. And I'm in Buffalo, New York. So we have a lot of snow and a lot of cold. So the golf season here is like half the year. And I said, we're going to do this Dream 100 podcast relationship building strategy for you. I said, if you could wave a magic wand, sky's the limit, you could have any golf coaching client you want, who would it be? And he's like, I want the Fortune 500 CEOs who are on charity golf tournaments on TV with celebrities. And, they make tens of millions of dollars a year, but I can't get to them. And I said, yes, you can. So we did this program for him. And he's like, well, they have golf pros at their country clubs and they belong to like multi-six-figure country clubs. Like, why would they use me? And they're not going to pay me $75 an hour. I said, no, they're going to pay you a lot more. And we came up with the last golf lesson ever, which was a $100,000 a year program where the CEO had to fly my golf coach out to their country club 4 times a year to play in person, and was supplemented with DVDs because this was 10 years ago, DVDs, and because we didn't have the membership sites, DVDs and stuff like that along the way. And he's like, no one's ever going to buy that. That's more than one client would pay me more than I make in a year. Well, we got him interviews with some of those Fortune 500 and Inc. 500 celebrity CEOs. And his very first client didn't buy the $100,000 a year program. He was right. They bought the downsell, which was $50K a year.
Oh, shucks. He was probably devastated. Yes. Is that correct?
So he probably said, oh my God, I don't need my regular job anymore. I don't need 50 clients in the summer. I could just do this. And he quit my mastermind group because every time we had a mastermind meeting every month, he sent me pictures of him traveling to some amazing country club somewhere else in the country that was warm, playing golf at St. Andrews or wherever else he was, or Augusta, wherever else he was going.
So he did okay. He appreciated it. That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that use case. It's really interesting. I've talked now with many, including Russell Brunson, personally about Dream 100 and some of those strategies. It's interesting to see how powerful that content is. Time-tested principles withstand the test of time, but how people interpret that and apply it can go all kinds of ways, as you know. So seeing it, how you execute it on is awesome to see. Here, a lot of people listening, agency owners are listening, other entrepreneurs are listening. They would love to build an affiliate army. There's a lot of detail in a couple of the things that you mentioned. For example, having somebody just simply email their list. Seth, why on earth would somebody just email their entire list on behalf of somebody else? What are the ingredients that you have to have in order to be easy to work with?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And I'm going to dispel the biggest rumor right away. It's not about the money. And it's not about you having a list the same size that can reciprocate. People think I can't do it because I don't have a big email list. I can't do it because I don't have a big following. And, Russell Brunson has a gazillion, $100 million company. He doesn't need my money. What can I do to move the needle for him? Well, here's the best part about the way we do the strategy. You don't need an email. You don't need a big list. You don't need big influence. You don't need any of that. We took one of my other favorite books was Influence by Robert Cialdini. And we took some of the 2 most powerful principles, I think, in that book, are reciprocity and goodwill. And we figured out a way with our offline post-show direct mail to build up so much reciprocity and goodwill over a period of 8 to 12 weeks that literally that person, even Russell Brunson, who's been on my show twice, sent me an email going, dude, I can't believe you're doing all this for me. You're like my new best friend. What can I do to help you? We don't even have to ask someone to email for us. Literally, they are going, can I help you? What can I do for you? This is awesome. And it's so funny. I have an endorsement, a quote from Russell going, when you told me what this was, I didn't believe it was even possible. And now, of course, he does it. So it isn't about the list in reciprocation. It's about the points you can score before you ever ask for anything. And it's literally making the scale so imbalanced in your favor that the other person psychologically, they just can't take it anymore. And they literally are like, please let me help you. And you're like, oh, all right, I guess I have something you could share. And they're like, let me do it. Let me do it.
Love it. So in terms of setting up that valuable relationship, warming that up to where it's imbalanced as you're describing, let's apply that to just two different use cases. One of somebody just a little bit earlier on in their business career where they have a small list and it's like, how do you add, like if I won't speak for you, but if, there was a time where I was actually Dream 100ing Russell Brunson and he ended up keynoting for one of our summits. And so it's like, I was just kind of starting out. How would you recommend that person Dream 100, and add value to somebody that like appears or you might be tempted to think that they don't like, there's nothing you can really do for them.
And it's not about something you can do for them. It's who you can be with them in relationship.
Interesting.
So I would say this is going to sound self-serving for you, but I would say one of the first things that those folks need to get is they need to get FlowChat. Your software is phenomenal. I am a user of it and absolutely love what you built. And what a great way to track and interact with your Dream 100. So my first step would be, and I did this recently to win a bet, which was that if you're starting over in a new industry and you have no list and you have no relationships, this wouldn't work. And so I started over in a new relationship of ultra high, like private equity company decision makers. That was the challenge. And these guys manage multi-billion-dollar portfolio companies. Like, you can't get to them. And we got 2 of them this year to fund acquisitions of other companies for us. And they were like, normally this deal is too small for us, but because it's you, we'll help you raise the $14 million that you want to use to buy this company.
How'd you do it?
Because we built up 2 deals this year because of that.
Well, that's awesome.
So
how did you make it happen?
So I would say organize your 100 into, or 50 or however many, into FlowChat. You can use it easily to click on, hey, I want to go see what they posted on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And you can use the information you find that people post as part of that Dream 100 strategy. So number 1, I'm biased. I would say you should lead with a podcast interview, interviewing them on your show, shining the spotlight on them. And then where we get the quote unquote ammunition for what we're going to send them to build that relationship, that stuff we get from the social media. So I can see that, Chris went to this restaurant. I can see that Chris went to this activity with his kids, or he did this with his wife. And that can inspire me to find the either material I'm going to send, the gifts I'm going to send, the value bombs I'm going to drop that are going to build up that reciprocity and goodwill to the point where Chris says, Seth, we got to have you on the FlowChat podcast and tell everybody in the world about you.
Something that I've often heard is, oh, but Seth, that takes so much time. Like, I need to make money now. I have a couple thoughts to this, but I'm very curious to hear yours. What would you tell that person?
You're absolutely right. It does take time. It is a long-term relationship building strategy. So it's not that you're going to walk up to someone guys, humor me, you wouldn't walk into a bar, see a girl you never met, walk up, tap her on the shoulder and say, want to get married. You date her first for a period of time before you propose. So why do we as marketers forget the stages of human intimacy, right? Why do we go from eye contact to write me a check, opt in to give me money? Hey, you just opted into my list. I would like you to write me a check for $100,000. Real life doesn't work that way. And we've kind of forgotten that as marketers. So yes, it's a relationship building strategy. Yes, it takes a long time. Is it worth it? Absolutely. It will be the most profitable marketing you ever do if you do it right. Now you bring up the I need money tomorrow. So if you needed money tomorrow, this isn't where you're going to start because it takes a while. It's worth it, but it takes a while. So if I needed money tomorrow, I would have to fast forward that process. So how I would do that, I would still do the podcast interview first. But I would, let's say, pick the 10 influencers that had good sized lists or followings in an industry that I wanted to be in. I would interview them. I would then turn those 10 interviews into a product, a course, an info product, or a book. And then I would get them to promote the course or book or whatever because they're in it. I wouldn't offer them the money because they probably don't need it. I would say we're going to donate all the proceeds to your favorite charity.
Okay.
Because that will move their heartstrings and get them to care. And then, so I would speed up the process, get them to launch my product, build me a list that I could then sell that. The next upsell is what I would keep the money from. The product I created, I would give all the money to charity to get them to promote it. And then the upsell or the next thing I promote to that list would be mine alone, which is how I would take that from, a process that could take a 12-month process. It's not 12 months before the cash register rings. It's just we do it for a year. But if you did it that way, you could probably make the cash register ring in like less than 90 days.
I hope everyone listening, watching this right now is taking very close notes. I'm making Seth sweat over here. He's thinking, he's working for all of us, which I'm very grateful for, Seth. Thank you. And the very thing that he just laid out. So there's two massive influencers right now that are doing that exact process with some of their new book launch. So like what he's saying isn't old news. It worked before. It still works now and is being done now. And rewind, come back and rewatch and do the thing. Something, Seth, just to add that is hit me hard over the years is, it takes a long time. Like you just said, what you suggested happens in 90 days or less, which can be trajectory life changing. But if you're not focused on the right people, that's like, it's not worth it, then you haven't found the right people. Because as you know, when you find the right people, you're like, oh my gosh, if any of these 5 or 10 people said yes, if even one of them said yes, my life would change. You get that sense of like, this is worth it. And then you can commit the time and you do, and then you see the outcome. Like you said, you got to do it right. Hope you're having fun with this conversation. I am. I love geeking out on the processes. You're building all these skill sets you're really, really good at. Can you tell us more about yourself and what you're doing?
Sure. So, what do you want to know? It depends. So, I am the founder and CEO of MarketDominationLLC.com. I started as just me and one financial advisor the client, because I started in financial services and half our clients come from professional practices. That was 15 years ago. And we now have an awesome team of 46 people who work here. And we produce, we execute the Dream 100 strategy our way for about 100 clients in various forms. And I host several shows myself that are Dream 100 based shows in different verticals, and get to do webinars with those partners that we create from that process literally every single week. So when you said just one person says yes and your life changes, my life gets to change all the time because somebody says yes. And, I had a lawyer who they launched a new business and they came to us and it was zero, and it went from zero to profitability, and he quit his other job like on the very first webinar we did. So sky's the limit.
There seems to be this recurring trend, Seth, of people that are working with you.
Yes.
They're texting you pictures of all the places they're traveling.
You alluded to.
Yeah.
Yes, and some of those people that you alluded to earlier were the secret weapon behind, because I know who you're talking about.
Yes. I love it. So Seth, people that are listening to this and they're like, man, I really want to have a sales process where I'm connecting in a real, genuine way, building real relationships. I like what you're saying, Seth. They're leaning in. Where's the best place to find you and chat more with you?
Sure. So social network I'm most prevalent on would be LinkedIn. You've got that link scrolling across, which we greatly appreciate. On the website, depending on whether or not our servers cooperate and allow you to see it, either MarketDominationLLC.com, or if you want a copy of my best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast.
Let me bring it back. Sorry, one more time. Now I can see it. There it is, The Ultimate Guide.
This maps out our entire process, literally exactly what we do. You can get that if the website works at ultimatepodcastbook.com. If it doesn't, just go to the regular website, MarketDominationLLC.com, fill out the form, and I'll get you one.
There you go. And, sometimes we go on LinkedIn, you type in a name, just for clarity. This is what it looks like. And can you tell us a little bit about the SharkPreneur podcast?
Sure. So I co-host my podcast with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. And that was my Dream 100 process. It got him. He has been a client, a business partner, and a friend for over 10 years. We've started several companies together. And it's been an incredible dream to get to learn from him every single week, because all started because of that.
Life-changing. That's cool.
Yeah, see, one person said yes. Yes.
Awesome. To close here, I always like to ask one particular question. This is a selfish question because it's feeds my own curiosity. People that essentially, I'm going to ask you why you do what you do, so I'll give you a second to think. Any athlete, high performer, that's athlete, if they're an actor or musician or entrepreneur or someone providing some type of service for other person, it's a vulnerable place. They're putting themselves out there, and there's a lot of risk for failure, all the different things. Someone that does that not only once but continues to do that year over year and grows from that, that's a unique person in my view. And so the question is, Seth, I view you as one of these people and have also thrived at a high level. Why do you do what you do? What drives you?
The ripple effect. So we get to touch so many people through not only ourselves but through our clients. So if I was a chiropractor and regular small mom and pop practice, maybe I touch a couple hundred patients. But if I'm me and we go help 100 chiropractors, through them we reach tens of thousands of people. So for example, financial literacy is a topic I'm very, very passionate about, because my dad's idea of checkbook management was, I can't be overdrawn, I still have more checks. So a lot of our clients are financial advisors or in financial services, and I love the fact that we're helping that problem get solved at a large level through the army of clients we're serving and the army of customers they're helping. So ripple effect for sure.
Ripple effect is a great reason. Seth, I really appreciate you spending some time to add value to our community.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I'm a big FlowChat fan myself.
Awesome. And hey, thank you for listening, watching today. I hope you got a ton of value. Again, there's big campaigns happening right now that Seth just outlined and went through the step-by-step of what to do. And of course, you can get a copy of his book at ultimatepodcastbook.com, or just reach out to him on LinkedIn. That's his preferred social platform to get that information. Don't wait. I know there's someone listening, watching this, that inside you're like, I knew there was a really good way. The path and the way has just been laid out in front of you. So we'll keep bringing awesome content like this your way. Appreciate you guys watching. See you on the next one.